Hello and welcome back to another episode on Let's Talk Football Careers with myself, Barry, and today's guest, James Beattie. How you doing, James?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Barry. Thanks for having me on.
Nah, thanks for joining us. As I always do, a summary. You played for Blackburn, Southampton, Everton, Sheffield United, Stoke, Rangers, Blackpool, Accrington Stanley, and you also were capped for England 5 times, I believe, as well.
Yeah, more clubs than Tiger Woods.
That's it. That's funny. I said that to Brett the last interview. I says you should have been a golfer, eh?
100% Brett's had more clubs than me, though.
But I think you just want to play football, though. That's it. You do want to be sitting about, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the. I don't want to say preferred path for me, but it was quite a surprise actually, because I was good at school, and I wanted to go into medicine, and I was a swimmer when I was younger, which took up most of my time.
Yeah, I've got that. I've got that there.
So then I swam up until I was about 14, and then got a shoulder injury. But I was pretty good. I was doing about 50, 60 miles a week when I was 13, 14, and I got up to second in the country when I was 14, and I got this shoulder injury. And I spoke to the physio at the time, who was a guy called Mike Pettigrew at Blackburn. And he said, you can have an arthritic shoulder by the time you're 25 and carry on swimming, or you can stop now and just have a normal shoulder for the rest of your life. So I was 14, so I was coming into, you finding other things interesting and, girls and stuff like that. And it was getting a little bit boring, the swimming thing. Yeah. I like playing football, but never sort of envisaged me going down the career path I did.
Yeah.
So I decided to, quit swimming, and then concentrate more on my football and me academic schoolwork. And I think because of the sort of mentality I've developed through swimming, sometimes training on my own at 4 o'clock in the morning in a 50-meter pool, was quite tough as a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
I sort of built this resilience up in my mind, because I was always trying to beat the clock. So I was always trying to gain a national age group qualifying time, or a record, or a personal best, or and as we grow up, we understand that the clock beats everybody. So I was always trying to achieve something that was out of my reach, but I kept going and kept going and kept going. So that was a good attribute to take into football and obviously into life as well. The physicality I had as a 14-year-old, and then going on, 15 and 16 when I left school, I was big because I was physically developed and I was strong.
Set you up there, right?
Yeah, and obviously lung capacity and heart wise, I was so well developed and so far superior, I guess, to other athletes or footballers that were my age. So I could, and then that sort of went on into my career. The sort of power, the ability to run all day. Harry defenders, never give them a moment's peace. And yeah, so I finished school, did my GCSEs. I did well at my GCSEs. I got 9 GCSEs, 4 A's, 3 B's, 2 C's, A's in chemistry, physics, biology, and maths.
Wow.
And I wanted to go and do my A levels at the same school, Queen Elizabeth's Grammar School in Blackburn. And this Blackburn scout, a guy called Derek Langley, who I'm still friends with now, he spotted me, and he said to me, Dad, we'd like to offer James something at Blackburn Rovers. And I didn't know it at the time, but to give me an opportunity academically, my dad had remortgaged the house twice to send me to school. I didn't know. I know, unbelievable commitment. My brother got the same, the same sort of treatment or the same opportunity, and he was better at football than I was when we were younger, and they sort of were to-ing and fro-ing over this. It was YTS back in them days, as you probably remember.
Yeah.
And they started off with a 2-year YTS, and my dad said no straight away. He just went no. I didn't know it at the time, but he told me afterwards, and he negotiated with Blackburn and ended up as a 6-month YTS and a 2.5-year pro.
God, there you are. So he was effectively your agent back then.
Well, it transpires that my dad he was a truck driver, my dad, and he used to negotiate on behalf of the truck drivers for the union.
So it's top.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's funny how both yourself and your dad have kind of fell into the football setup here as well, without even, it's just been.
Yeah, but he wasn't my agent, my dad, but he sat in on every one of my deals. Mm-hmm. And he never used to say anything. And one of his favourite sayings was "Hear all, see all, say nout." Mm-hmm. And he used to be, and I didn't know his background in negotiation and sort of, them sort of scenarios. But he told me when I was, later in my career, and I was as shocked as anyone. But having somebody like that, I guess, again was pivotal in how my sort of career went. The advice was spot on, as you hope any sort of father-son relationship would be. And he sat me down and he said, I think knowing because of what he committed himself to me education, he said but he still said the choice is yours, son. And he said, you can give football a go. Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, you can always fall back on your education. But if you don't give it a go, then you might always be wondering what if.
And you would have been as well, 100%.
Yeah, and I thought, at the time I'm 16, I haven't got a clue, and I just thought I just want it because Blackburn. I love Blackburn. They were my club. And the opportunity to go and be in the same building as Shearer and
the time that you joined there, it was the same as Brett Ormerod. He joined at the same time as well, and you had Shearer, Kevin Gallagher, just there. It was littered with stars.
They just won the Premier League, and the environment, like you say, the environment to go in, see these lads train. Kenny Dalglish was the manager. It was a Jack, I have to mention Jack Walker. Jack Walker produced and created something at Blackburn that I don't think we'll ever see again.
No,
and obviously, the rules permit that. It's more difficult for that to happen anyway. For one man to just go in and because he loved the club, he did it right. He built the infrastructure. The training ground was done because Blackburn actually won the title training on council pitches.
Mad, you look at it now, how much it's changed.
Because, and that's because of the players that Kenny and Ray Arford and Asa Arford. They'd created this team and squad of players who were just so talented, but they didn't cry about training on council pitches. They knew the training ground was coming, but then they go and produce something like that to pit Man U, who had been dominating Premier League, and it was just an unbelievable time, and so I thought all that rolled into one, and then my dad's words resonated in my head. Can I, if I just give it a go and see what happens, and then I could always fall back on my schoolwork and pursue a career in medicine, which is what I wanted to do, and it was brilliant. Got in there. We used to live in so on the training ground there was I don't know whether Brett mentioned this, but on the training ground there was a semi-detached house on the hill, and there was 20 16-year-old lads and 17-year-old lads in this house, and it was absolute carnage. It was, but it was The banter was flying. We used to just hammer each other all the time. It was great. It was absolutely, but it was something that prepared you so well for actually what it was going to be like further on down the line in various dressing rooms, wherever you ended up. And again, you know, the training ground was unbelievable. They had 5 carpet pitches. I remember playing our first game. We played Liverpool, and Liverpool's they came with a massive reputation, this team, and the recruitment of the players wasn't just at first team level. It was sort of right the way through the club. And we had players like Marlon Brooms was playing for us, who was like the schoolboys captain. Damien Johnson, Damien Duff, James Thomas, Anthony Williams, who was a Welsh international goalkeeper, and we had. But you didn't know these lads as soon as you went in. But then you started training together, and you could say, you think, oh wow, and obviously the level of them players elevates you as well. And our coach at that time was Alan Irvine. And I still speak to Alan now. We've got a massive amount of respect for him. He's seen and done things in the game that nobody else has. He's unbelievable coach, and he didn't just coach us as footballers. He sort of coached us as an addition to your parents and your family friends, and he shaped us into people, good people. And that's why I still have massive respect for Swerve, and it was just a fantastic environment they created. And we played Liverpool and we beat them 5-0, and all the boys were just thinking, wow, what is this? But again, you'd come up against teams, and we didn't win all our games. So you'd have that sort of adversity, but then you'd be, told that that's part and parcel of the journey. And you learn far more from losing games than you do winning games. You learn more about yourself. You learn more about the team. The coach will learn more about his tactics or whatever, or how to manage the team, in the build up or in training. And it was just great. And all these things that I was picking up and learning, I can still recall them because they were so prominent. And
you can use them now.
Yeah, but there was just brilliant people wherever you looked.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about that. A successful team comes with the dressing room as well, and the environment around the club, and that's, like you say, what Blackburn had right at that time.
Massive, it's massive, and part of that is what I've created and been part of creating really, really good environments where teams have been successful in various aspects. The latest one being I was assistant manager at Wigan with Liam Richardson, who was the manager, and Rob Kelly, who was also one of the coaches at Blackburn. And Liam was a YT at Blackburn as well. So them relationships. So he took Rob in as his number 2 and me in as his number 2, and we ended up winning League One and getting promoted to the Championship, and it was but going a little bit.
You've all got the same kind of character.
Them relationships last. And
talking 30 years. I mean, you're talking about 30 years.
To know, Swerve and Rob still, and this, they've over the 25 years I've known them, they've learned as well. I've learned, but they're still readily, they'll pick the phone up and now you're privileged enough to call them friends, but whereas they started out as your coach, but you remember so many things that they did for you, not just in football terms, but in life terms as well.
Yeah, 100%. And can I just ask, I mean, you moved on, right, from Blackburn, right? I mean, you did, when you were there, you made your debut against Arsenal, is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, as an 18-year-old. Keon and Adams were the centre halves, I think. Absolutely kicked the crap out of me. Arsenal won 2-0. Ian Wright scored 2. And he sought me out on the pitch after the game, or while we were still on the pitch, and he went, "Don't worry, son. You keep playing like that, and you'll be all right." And he still remembers that now. I've done a few TV shows with Righty over the years, and he still remembers.
Yep. And you're able to pass that on, but I mean, it shows how invaluable that is, eh? And
yeah, and like you say, it was to me as an 18-year-old lad starting out, that was priceless. And it just showed me, you know, the measure of the man. He didn't have to do it.
No.
But
I hear that chatting with all different characters. I hear that in stories about, you know, and we'll come on to him, Gordon Strachan and things. And you can see why these guys have been successful, guys like yourself, where you're totally tuned into what you're doing. And it's always a sort of that saying, always a pleasure, never a chore, you know, kind of attitude, eh? And you're just consistently doing it, eh? But no, who was it you looked up to as a striker, and who, when you were a young lad and you finished swimming, who would you say, right, that's who I want to be like?
It was a guy called Simon Garner, who's Blackburn's all-time record scorer. My dad used to have he was mad Blackburn fan as well, and he used to have a what's called 100 club membership.
Right.
But it was different in them times. So I went to my first game at 7, and I think then my dad, he had his 100 club membership maybe a few years later, and I was old enough to go into this 100 club. Right. But all the players had come in, and they'd be interacting with the fans, and I think that now we could learn a lot from that nowadays, because I don't think the fans have access, and that's probably one of the saddest things about, you know, how the game's changed for me anyway.
And that's why I do these, James. This is what inspired me to start doing this. I mean, I'm in my 40s, and I just thought, you know, sometimes we're so out of touch. You know, we've got so much technology there to be in touch, but we're so disconnected as, you know, fans from obviously guys like yourself. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
No, but it's a good point, and that is a whole other conversation. And whichever club I go into, I try and make sure that, you know, because I know how important it is, and my outlook on it and my view is that the fans give you the time by the hard-earned money they pay to come and watch you. Yeah, all right. Opinions now are varied. There's some sort of out there ones, and people who hide on social media and just spout off loads of, you know, crap. Basically. And but the real fans, the ones that, you know, when I first went to the Dell and at all the clubs, we used to park our cars and the fans would be outside and you'd sign autographs, and some people would be there all the time, and they're the ones that you got to know and had, you know, not had a relation, but you did have a relationship with them. It would have been hi, how you doing, and all that sort of stuff. And I just don't think the fans get that now, and which is a real shame. But I try and push that, and that sort of sense of community, and you know, making sure that the lads, because whichever badge they play for, it's always an honour to play for any badge, to play for any team.
And every football fan will say that, James. As long as you give your all when you're playing for a badge and playing for a team, and you give 100%, and you know, we can't ask for more than that. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But there's not enough of that, eh?
No, and I think that what we mentioned before, creating the right environment. People, you know, players coming into the club or playing for the club, they have to know what it means to play for that club. Yeah, you know, even if they adopt it for a certain period of time, you need to have that buy-in, and they need to understand what it means to play for the badge. And that's a big part of creating that environment, because, you know, there's a few players now that see clubs as a stepping stone or whatever, but, you know, while you're on that stepping stone, even if it is that, while you're on that stepping stone, take care of that stepping stone, and realize what it actually means to stand on that stepping stone.
Yep, and the fans again will respect that if you do go on to bigger things, and there is most teams that we all support. I mean, most teams, there's always a bigger club out there somewhere, eh? And most fans will respect that. But like you say, just give it everyone, respect us when you're there, and give everything you've got. And there's not much more we'll ask, eh?
No, and I think you know, I'm a football fan as well, and I understood that, and you know, I hope that, and I'm sure it did come across in how I played. Yeah, but I just think it's, you know, it's lacking a little bit these days. But I think the clubs can help themselves by invested, getting the players to invest in the club, and helping them understand what it actually means to be there, and the history of the club, and the players that have played for that club, and what it means to the community, and the community outreach is really important as well.
Yep, and that's it. And when you add it all together, I mean, that's where the best clubs around the world are. And you don't need to be the best footballing clubs, but the best supported clubs and the most enjoyable to support as well, eh? When they've got all the foundations there, eh? Can we dive into your time at Southampton, please? You ended up there in 1998. That was part of a deal with Kevin Davies. Who was in charge?
I don't think it was part of the same deal. I think I moved about a month later, or
you're right at the back of it, right?
Yeah, but it's here or there. But yeah, I remember the phone call from Tom Finn. I was playing golf with my mate Damien Taylor, and Tom Finn rang me. He was the secretary at Blackburn, and he went, "Oh, hi James, how are you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, Tom." And he said, "Oh, we've sold you to Southampton." And honestly, I was devastated. I was devastated, and not being able to look in the future and see what that move would mean to me and my career. I was absolutely gutted. I think I started crying at 20 because the club meant it meant a lot to me. But it was about a week before Dave Jones had signed Stuart Ripley from Blackburn.
Yeah,
and he had a conversation with Rippers, and he said, I quite like Beats. What do you reckon? Should I take a chance on him? And he went, yeah, like that. So, and that was it. Went down to meet Dave Jones. I already had in my mind what I wanted to do at Blackburn. So I was 20. So I made my debut at 18, and then I'd gone on a couple of years, made a few appearances here and there. But I had it in my mind what I was going to do at Blackburn, and at Blackburn at that time, I had the financial power to go and buy whoever they wanted, really. They had like Martin Darlene up front and players.
Swedish international.
Yeah. And so I had it planned out in my mind, and then obviously got that phone call. So then all I did was transfer it down to Southampton.
Yep.
And Dave Jones, he was brilliant with me, Dave. He sort of outlined what he wanted me to do that season, and it sort of married up with where I was in my mind anyway. He said, feel your way into the squad, get some appearances, get a few goals, and then you hopefully your career will take off. And I was working so hard because when you go in, and again you're surrounded by really good people, but good players. Like Tiz was there, who was absolutely frightening in training, and in that respect, I've been lucky to learn off people such like that. Again,
some of the free kicks that you scored then, because I've got written down here, you scored a few good free kicks as well. I mean, he must have helped with that, eh?
Yeah, and he was great with me as a younger player. He could have felt like he was coming towards the end of his career, and he didn't have to treat me that well, which a couple of them did, but he was great, and again, a massive privilege to be able to call him my friend now, and he's still such a top guy. But some of the stuff he did in training was even better than what you see, what he did on the pitch. It was just incredible. Yeah, he was just, but he's so naturally talented, and everybody's seen what he can do, and he was just a great player to learn from and to watch every day in training. And
he scored the banger against Blackburn. Was it no Blackburn?
So that game, I was in the crowd, and he laughs about it now. But I was sat in when he twists Mark Atkins and Tim Sherwood up in the middle, and then unleashes that shot from 40 yards. It goes in the top corner past his big mate Tim Flowers. And if you watch that footage, Tim Flowers just lays on the floor because he said he had a conversation with him afterwards, and he was saying that, oh mate, he said he couldn't have gone any closer to like the tee, and Tim was an unbelievable goalkeeper, but to beat him from there, there was only one man that could do that, and it was Tiz. And he said he was absolutely gutted because it was Tiz who scored past him. But from that,
hear about it all his life. He still hear about it.
Yeah. But I was in the crowd, and I just stood up and started applauding because it was you just don't see goals like that.
No, it's ridiculous. But I mean, you can go through the highlights. Really, all the goals he scored there, and it's absolutely
brilliant.
But I mean, I'm also want to touch into Klaus Lundekvan as well. He's coming on to the podcast in a couple of weeks as well. You played alongside him. He must have been a massive influence. What was he like as a character around the team?
Again, the dressing room was full of them. Klaus, Kenny Moncal, Matthew Oakley, David Hughes, who's a really good friend of mine now. But we're still all majority of them lads are all still in touch in the ex-Saints. Yeah. So we play a few games together every year and raise money for charity and then distribute it locally in Southampton. And again, them friendships, you don't often you get a few that stand the test of time, but them ones, and I've got a few at the other clubs I've been at. I've got a few other great friends that have been players in the same teams, that I've played in. Yeah. But that dressing room was just full. Klaus was we used to he was so quick and wiry and strong, but he wasn't built or anything, but he was so quick, and he had a fantastic mentality, and we used to call him, I used to call him adopted English, because he had an unbelievable mentality, and he was so professional, and again a player that sort of maximized everything that he had. And enjoyed a great career, and he's doing great things now after his journey to help other people that are struggling with addiction and stuff like that. So
I spoke to Peter Shelton and his wife regarding addiction as well, and sat down, and that's an eye opener, and that's something I encourage everybody to watch it. It's like a 30-minute video sitting with him and his wife, and you can see how there's things came into football over different eras that kind of help players and set them on the path. But I mean, when players finished playing football 20, 30 years ago, they were just left to their own devices, and you can see the way it's changed for the better, that side of it.
I think so. I think it's changed for the better, but I think there's a hell of a lot more can be done as well. Because there's some lads really struggle when they finish. I think predominantly, if I take myself, I don't know whether I was lucky, but in my case, I had to focus on managing Accrington. So my focus went from playing and training to then onto that. So there was very, very little, if any, period of thinking, right, well, what am I going to do now?
And that's a key. Let's keep it as soon, because you can't effectively retire at 35-year-old. It's not, as much as it sounds great.
I mean, financially, you could do. I mean, these days you probably could do. But I think as a person and your brain, that would be a mistake if you haven't got something to do. And I was lucky in the sense I had Accrington, but then I had other things that I was doing as well, which I'd been advised to do from a young age. And I had really good people around me, my dad and my friends, my best friend James Featherstone, and I was I envisaged myself playing until about 36. So I envisaged myself playing until about another 2 years after I finished at Accrington, or not, and I'd finished after the sort of decision came to stop playing.
Yeah.
Because originally the chairman at Accrington wanted me to be player manager. So one of the people I rang, you mentioned him before, was Strachan, because he tried it.
Yeah.
And again, at one point Gordon was my manager, and I respect him as my manager, but I've got more respect, more respect for him now because of the person that he is, and I actually know him now. And how much he's willing to help other people. And I called him, and he just said, if it was me, if I had the opportunity to do it again, he said I wouldn't do it again. He said, so you need to make a decision. You either carry on playing, or you stop playing, process that quickly in your mind, which again is difficult, and took me even though I was managing Accrington and then coaching at Swansea, it took me 3 or 4 years to process it. And I made that decision, and then I went with it. And yeah.
It's worked out well. It's good. It's all good. I mean, not that these experiences have fell into you, but they've been there for you to take, and you've took every experience from your time, like you say, when you were a young lad, building through Blackburn, the players you were with, and now we're into Southampton. I mean, can we touch into what was your best season for me? It's the 2002-2003. I've wrote down notes here. You got your England call-up that year as well. You finished 23 league goals behind Ruud van Nistelrooy and Thierry Henry. I mean, what a season that was. You must have been, that was under Gordon Strachan as well that season there.
Yeah, that was Gordon. I always say, the question I get asked a lot is, who's your favourite manager? And it's always Gordon, because he knew how to get the best out of me, and he knew how to get the best out of a lot of players.
Yeah.
And he was great. He would never ask you to do anything he wouldn't do himself. He was fair, but he was hard. But then he would, his way of sort of complimenting you was in a one-liner. You know what I mean? So you think, you might think you were going to get a bollocking or whatever, and then he'd just walk past you and just drop you a one-liner, and you'd go, yeah, nice one. But he was great. He was brilliant. And just before that, when I think it was about a year or something before that, the manager at the time of Southampton pulled me in his office. Where he went, "Oh, you're never going to be a Premier League footballer, James."
Wow.
And I went, right, okay, no problem. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to sell you to Crystal Palace." And I went, "I'm not going anywhere." I said, "I'm going to work hard and get in your team." And that's what I did. Got my head down, and I scored 10 in 10.
Yep.
And he sort of left and went to Spurs. It was Glenn Hoddle, but Glenn was well ahead of his time.
Yeah. In
terms of coaching. He was a brilliant coach, and I've seen him a few times, more than a few times since. And he said, by his own admission, he says, if I had the mentality and outlook on life that I've got now, back then, he could have been, anything.
Yeah,
I know he was the England manager, but he would have been the England manager for 20 years.
Yeah, easily. I think, and that's another example. Times went ahead of him. Like, he was ahead of times when it came to the managing, like you said. But see, social media coming in, and Sky Sports, and a million cameras around you, and microphones and everything. And we all know kind of where that went. But he's not the only one that happened to. And sometimes you can just see things didn't pan out the way it should.
Yeah. But it was so that's that season that you mentioned there, that one where I got 23. I was actually leading going into the last game, and we were playing the last game ever at Main Road, against Man City. I was on 23, and Henry and Van Nistelrooy were on 22 each.
Is that Christ?
But they were. I was leading the whole season. I've got the trophies in the house. First to 10, first to 20, and I got to 23, and I thought, and they were playing teams that it wouldn't, they were sort of mid-table. They weren't. And I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to score today. They're going to get at least one. So we're playing Man City, last game at Main Road. Oasis are doing a concert after, and I'm shooting from everywhere. Like literally everywhere. I'm getting the ball. Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking they're going to score today. They're going to score, and it was actually counterproductive, because now you score goals because of the team. And all right, you can produce moments of magic and score from 40 yards and all that. I get that, but predominantly you score because of your teammates.
Yeah.
So that was something that I've since learned, and obviously try and passed down now as a coach.
Yeah.
And I remember I took this shot, and it was about my 5th shot from ridiculous distance. And Klaus, he steamed down the middle of the pitch, and he was quick, Klaus. And I'm looking at him, thinking, what's he doing like that? And I'm thinking, oh no, he's coming for me here. He came right up to my face, and he went, you effing pass the ball like that. Stop effing shooting like that. And I was like, okay, mate, yeah, no problem.
But he's big Scandinavian as well. It's like you can imagine.
He was proper steaming like this. Wow. I thought the Vikings coming to get me.
Amazing.
So I think Henri got hat-trick.
Yeah. And
Van Nistelrooy got 2. So it was 23, Van Nistelrooy 24, and Henri 25.
Due respect, you done it with Southampton. They finished 8th that season. You know, whereas they were Arsenal, Man United, when they were getting a hell of a lot more chances created for them in every game.
Yeah, but yeah.
So you've got to take.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, you've got to take credit for that, definitely, because I mean, you look at it, they do all this XG nonsense that they do now. But I mean, you look at what their XG would have been throughout that season compared to yourself. It's a hell of an achievement. So, could I ask you about a volley against Newcastle? I believe it was Shea Given that you had that against.
Yeah, Shea was he was at Blackburn he was a little bit older than me, Shea, but he was when we was young lads at Blackburn. We were, I remember that. It was it was Brett. And Brett that season was an unbelievable foil because we had either 2 players marking me or 2 players marking Brett because he was all over the place, never stopped running, harrying, pressurizing. And it was a great partnership. And there was a long ball and he sort of challenged, I think it's Andy O'Brien. And then he challenged him again, and Andy's gone to try and clear it, and it's just come off the end of his toe, and it's just dropped in front of me. And then I've just like sidewinded it. It went in off the post, and I remember Shea wasn't happy about that after the game.
But
that was to go 1-0 up, and I think we lost 2-1.
What was your favourite goal, guy? You have a sort of favourite goal that really stands out for you?
Yeah, I've got. I mean, the one at Stadium of Light was a good one. Again, that was, when things are dropping for you, and I had a good ball strike on me, and I just half the time I just thought I'm just going to hit this and see what happens. And when you're flying and you're in flow state and things are going for you, you just tend not to think about it. It's when you start overthinking things that's when you can. Your performance can start to deteriorate. But that one at Stadium Light. Yeah.
I've got in here as well, though, the FA Cup final. I mean, we've got to talk about that as well, as devastating as the way it ended. But did you have a goal that was offside? Brett Ormerod was still adamant you weren't offside yet.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it would have been VAR would have called me back. Yeah, it was offside. He's about half a yard offside.
Yeah, he's still claiming that you're onside. he's not having it. But he had a big chance at the end of that game.
In that game, I think Klaus. So Henri went clean through, and Klaus pulled him back really early, after about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah,
and the ref didn't send him off. He was well within his right. I think he could have done easily.
And Brett missed a chance in that game. I say missed a chance, but David Seaman saved it. It was an absolute cracking effort where he chested it down and hit it back across Seaman there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I mean, it was the final itself. The result, like you say, is disappointing, but the experience of the whole run, you could see what it meant to the fans. The semi-final at Villa Park against Watford was just unbelievable, and actually the fan we played in yellow, so half of the stadium, and it was the first one I think in an enclosed stadium, so it was at the in Cardiff at the Millennium, and half the stadium was yellow and half of it was red. And even though Arsenal had won and we'd lost, all the Southampton fans were still there, and when they were getting the trophy, there was probably only about 5,000 of them.
It's mad, eh? It's really good, though. I mean, you can remember that, like, you can take yourself right back there, and I mean, the build up to it, but stepping out, going through the tunnel, stepping it onto the pitch and everything, it must be amazing, eh?
The whole build up to the final, Matthew Oakley was good friends with Ted Baker, so Ted done the suits and that. I remember going to the stadium for photos and stuff like that. When we got to the stadium, all the fans, see the sea of yellow, and there's a picture of me after the game, and I'm welling up, I've got tears in my eyes, and I'm just thinking, that was a massive opportunity missed, but. That's.
I mean, do you realise at the time during that season, you're bound to realise that this is a hell of a special season with the guys you're playing with, or are you just rolling with it? I mean,
I think you do. I think you do. As you mature. I mean, I was still young at that point, but I knew that we were a special team. And when I say special team, I mean special team as in there was no great individuals. I include myself in that. But when you put like-minded people in a team, and you've got a good manager and you've got good synergy in the dressing room, the people in the dressing room respect themselves, respect each other, and they'll fight tooth and nail for each other. Then we turned over Arsenal that year. We beat them 3-2 at St Mary's. I'm sure we did. We beat Liverpool, beat Man United, so on our day, and we felt quite confident going into the game as well. And it was a certain period after Southampton had played in the cup final and won. And everybody thought that it was written in the stars. And when I went through and scored 1-0, that was it. That was it, and it was offside, unfortunately. So I think if that goal had stood, I reckon we'd have won 1-0.
Yeah, it would have changed it, because I mean, they were looking at it, and anybody looking at it says, "Oh, 1-0, they must have pummeled them," and the keeper did, but it wasn't like that at all. It was amazing times, eh? But I mean, I speak to a lot of Southampton fans, and they all talk about it. Everybody talks about it. They say, "I can remember where I was. I can take myself back there," and it's amazing to be part of that, eh? But can I ask, just before you played a few seasons, but you got your England call-up. Can you describe how that came about and just how it felt? And
I got a call from Sven. I think he'd been under sort of, again, the Southampton fans, and we've still got a great relationship to this day. I think there was a lot of fans sort of writing and saying that he never goes out of London to watch players, and he should come down and watch me, and all this sort of stuff. And then one day he turned up, and then the next sort of international call up, then it was made. So it was brilliant, because they helped me. But I thought that my performances that year, being an top English scorer, I felt that I deserved it. And he called me, and then Bridgie was in the squad as well, and Trevor Sinclair, and it was such a humbling moment, but a proud moment as well. But again, I felt like I deserved my chance, and I felt like I deserved my opportunity. And I thought, maybe I should have gone to Euros. But
do you think that was frowned upon because of where you were playing football? And it's ridiculous, eh? But I mean, you see it with transfers and everything, eh?
I don't know. I think I think a few people make things about that. But I think if your performances are up there and you deserve a shot, then you should be in there. Meritocracy.
Again, something else that you've took into your coaching career, again, with subconsciously learning as you're growing and getting closer to retirement as well. You see, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. There's certain managers that showed you good things to do, and there's certain managers that showed you, the things that you don't do, and that you wouldn't go and take forward into your own coaching career.
Yeah, I mean, see, playing with England and being in that setup, I mean, do you notice again the jump up in level again? Because I mean, who was in the England team round about then? I mean, we were looking at 2004.
Scholes was in that. Beckham. The hardest defender I've come up against, which was Sol Campbell, he was actually in my team, which I was quite happy about. when he was at Arsenal, he was unbelievable. It was the same. I made my debut the same night as Wayne Rooney did.
That's right.
I started up front with Michael Owen. I think the back four was Neville, Campbell. Can't remember who left back was. And David James was in goal.
Was that Ashley Cole's time? But the left back time, was it?
Yeah. It might have been Ash. Yeah, might have been Ashley. Yeah. And it was at Upton Park, and I remember spotting my mum and dad in the crowd, and
brilliant.
The national anthem playing, and just unbelievable pride. And I think at that time I wouldn't have thought that, but I'm thinking, how the hell have I got here? Being a truck driver's son from Blackburn, who only started playing football really at 14.
Yeah.
It's just that, like I said, that mentality. I think 80% of the game is mentality and how you deal with certain things, how you approach things, how you deal with adversity, how you don't let yourself, run away with yourself and keep working hard, keep striving. I think we see that, brilliant example of that these days is James Milner, who's become like the second oldest scorer. And, I think if you're looking at a mentality to have longevity in the game and to reach heights that James has reached, then there's no better example that's right in front of you now.
No, and he's still training the way he was when he was young lad. He just keeps going all the time, and his body will tell him when it's time to stop. But the following couple of seasons after that, I mean, that was a massive high. Strachan left, the team finished 12th. Paul Sturrock came in. The next season, Southampton got relegated. You did play with Peter Crouch and Jamie Redknapp though before. Is that correct?
I played with Crouchy because Crouchy used to come round and stay at my flat because he was on his own. But when in the January when Harry came in, he said, "Beach, you're my only saleable asset. I need to sell you to bring some players in." Right. And I was thinking, well, so we're in a bit of trouble, but you're going to sell your top scorer for sort of last 5 or 6 seasons. And then he brought in Jamie, Nigel Quasi, Callum Davenport, and Henri Camara, I think. So I didn't actually play with Jamie.
No, so it was a huge part of the changeover.
Yeah.
But you went to Everton and then you signed for David Moyes, signed you?
Yeah.
So how
I was really impressed with David and what he said to me. And I've got no regrets at all about joining Everton. No, it wasn't my choice to leave Southampton, but I've got no regrets joining Everton.
No, it's just your time's finished there, and without you even realising it until you've pretty much been told, right, you're getting sold, or right, you're my asset and I need to get rid of you. But you've moved on again, and I mean, it was a £6 million transfer. That must be a bit of an eye opener for yourself, eh? When you're looking back to what you were as a young lad, and now you're changing over for $6 million. It must be mental.
Yeah, I thought that was cheap.
It is in the days market anyway.
People say to me all the time now, if you've just scored 23 goals as an Englishman, and you're transferring now because of the sort of premium that's on in English players, you've scored 23 goals, and the sort of transfer fees now, but it's all pie in the sky. I play along a little bit with them and say, it'd be like 150 million or something, just to make them smile. But and that sort of stuff, it doesn't really bother me. I was happy, with the career I had, and I've got no regrets.
No, I mean, you joined the team at Everton. I mean, a guy with a very similar accent to myself, David Weir and Duncan Ferguson. But I've also got Mikel Arteta, James McFadden, Tim Cahill, Phil Neville. I mean, these are all class names, eh? I mean, again, you're noticing playing with these guys, eh?
Yeah, no. Well, the first person actually to greet me when I went to the training ground was a guy called Tommy Gravison.
Okay. Tell us about him. He's mad enough.
Yeah, he's quality, and unfortunately, he went to Real Madrid about 2 weeks after I joined. Which you know, but I walked into the training ground. He picked me up, and he said he always used to shout, Tommy, and he shouted at the top of his voice. He went, "These are the type of signings that I want to see around here," like that, and it just immediately I just felt at home, and it, you know, that dressing room was great as well. Like you say, with Davy Weir in it, Fergie was a, you know, a real top guy. Lee Carsley, Alan Stubbs, Tim Cahill, Mikel came a little bit later, but it was, you know, again, Kev Kilban, Leon Osman, Tony Hibbert, you know, Gary Naismith.
All players that, I mean, when you name these are all like Everton legends. You know,
brilliant, honestly. And again, I'm friends with a lot of them to this day, you know, and that says a lot about the sort of friendships that we had, and I was lucky enough to be part of some unbelievable dressing rooms, and that was certainly one of them.
Can you mind any mad stories that Gravison done in dressing rooms or training or that prior to him leaving? Or?
You know, but I know that Tommy, he went to Real Madrid, but then he sort of retired, and he'd made a really good investment, and he had you know, quite large shares in a company which was sold for like a multi-million-pound deal. And he moved to Las Vegas.
Does he not do poker and all that? He plays that and all that.
The last I heard, Tommy was still living in Vegas, which absolutely suits him down to the ground.
Perfect. He couldn't have put something. I've heard so many different stories about him and that, and he's absolutely brilliant. But there's certain characters in dressing rooms. I mentioned Brett a few times. I mean, players that obviously play a part in it as well, but they're not as calm as yourselves. They've just got a different way of doing it.
Yeah, but you know, I've got I've never been short. I mean, you can ask Tiz this, but I've never been short on confidence. But you know, when you're going into a dressing room and you've got big names in there, you try and settle down. But I think the best way of settling down is to be yourself, and then they either accept you or they don't. You know, and I think that I would say that I'm a nice guy, and you know, I understand the sort of responsibility that's on me when I go training, or when I'm playing, or when I'm part of a club, and you know, that's not changed. That'll never change, because you know, whatever club you're involved in, it's a privilege.
Yeah, and it's built in that. You can see that, James. It's built into you. I mean, right through your upbringing, right through to where we are now. I mean, with Everton, I mean, you became their top scorer as well, and you wore the number 9 shirt as well, I believe. I mean, when you look at that, or played it like that, I've got in here that the season that you left, though, they finished 6th, and they signed your pal Andy Johnson. Is that right?
Yeah. So when AJ signed, I was thinking, oh my God, a strike partner, you know, and it was, I think the Everton fans were thinking the same, and that David was going to play 4-4-2 with wingers, get crosses in, and me and AJ will be scoring. And we started the season. We opened the opening game of the season was at Goodison, and we scored a fantastic goal. We sort of played 2-1-2s between ourselves, and then AJ sclaffed it in the top corner. And I think that's when everyone went, "Oh my God, we've got a strike partnership here." And it, you know, it didn't really last that long, because I think David went back to playing 4-5-1, and I was on the bench for the majority of that year, and then the year after, I think I left.
And again, it just you know, you're loving it, you're in great times, you're enjoying the club, you're winning things, you're scoring goals, and it seems to just stop again. It just seems to come to. But again, when you moved on, you went to Sheffield United. You were the record transfer for the Blades at the time, and was it Brian Robson that signed you?
It was.
That's class. Look at all the names.
We was in LA on pre-season with Everton, and David said, "Oh, I'm going to sell you to Sheffield United," and I said, "No, you're not," because I'd gained more experience then, and I thought, you know, I'll do exactly what I did, you know, to Glenn, and I said, I'll work hard and I'll get in your team.
Yeah,
and I didn't want to drop out the Premier League at all.
You were in the Championship,
yeah, and I would say, so Brian lived about 10 minutes away from me. He lived in Hale Barnes. I used to live in Hale.
Right.
And he came round to my house, and bearing in mind, I didn't want to drop out the Championship. I didn't want to leave Everton. I wanted to, you know, prove David wrong. And within probably a minute of him talking to me, I was like, right, I'll sign for you.
Yeah,
Because he was just,
so good.
you're thinking, this guy's got 100 caps for England. He's sat in my house asking me to go and play for his team and what he wants me to do and how he's going to build a team around me and, you know, get loads of crosses in. You're going to score loads of goals and get us promoted back to the Premier League. And I was like, yeah, where do I sign?
Debut was against Colchester, sorry, is that correct? When you were at Sheffield?
Yeah, I did score though.
You did score, right? I worked it all right then. I looked in too far, and I've got Player of the Month in August and September right away. I mean, you can see the effect it's having you on.
Yeah, it was again, you know. It was about creating that environment and the signings. We had sort of Speedo. Gary Naismith had followed, you know, come to Sheffield United as well. You know, Billy Sharp was there. Did I say Speedo? Gary Speed was in centre mid. Hugo Ehiog was at the back. God bless them both. And it was a really good team. And we thought, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna go up. And then things, you know, didn't go to plan for one reason and another. But it was, again, a great club, really family orientated, you know, real special place in my heart. And I know the you know, the Sheffield United fans still, well, I don't know whether, still probably like me or love me. And we had some great times and great games there. I think one of the highlights probably for them, you know, the fans, would be me equalising against Sheffield Wednesday in the last minute with that 25-yard free kick. But again, another one where we were flying in a season, and should I just turn the light on? It's getting a bit dark.
I was just thinking that your room just went pure dark.
I'm disappearing. I'm going down the black hole. Hang on a minute.
I done that. I was sitting talking with somebody and I could just see myself getting darker and darker. I was like,
you could just see me teeth.
Just carry on talking about when you scored the equaliser against Sheffield Wednesday.
I scored a 25-yarder free kick, equalised against Wednesday, and you know, it was great. I loved playing at Bramall Lane. I loved playing for Sheffield United. I loved the club. There was, you know, again, people within the club who work at the club. I still speak to a lot of people at Southampton, still speak to a lot of people at Everton, still speak to a lot of people at Sheffield United and Stoke. And it was, you know, you just meet really good people along the way and form these relationships. Right. And we were flying, and Kevin Blackwell, who was the manager at the time, and we this was sort of early January, and I think we were in second, and we had a really good team, and we were really confident about, you know, being automatically promoted. And he's pulled me in the office. He went, Beats. He said, the chairman's said, I've got to sell you. And I went, what do you mean? And he went, I don't want to. He said, but he says, I've got to sell you. And I said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I said, we're going up. And he said, well, that's what he's told me. I said, well, I said, I don't want to go. And he said, well, all right. And then a few things happened, and then I went to speak to Tony Pulis, and Stoke were bottom of the Premier League. Yeah. And there was no real discussion. Tony just said, "Oh, I'll see you at training tomorrow," and I hadn't even signed, which I thought was quite funny. And, you know, and I liked him, and we got on really well. And so, just about that situation at Sheffield United, I find out probably only a few years ago, actually, that I had a representative at the time. I had a legal representative, like a sports lawyer, and he'd phoned the chairman and said, James is flying. He wants more money.
There you go. Eh?
And you know, Kevin McCabe, who was the chairman at that time, apparently got really pissed off which you would do, because I was on really good money, and I'd never even mentioned anybody. I was flying, scoring goals. I was enjoying being at the club. We had it planned out. We were going to get promoted, and we were on this train, and all. We had the momentum and everything, and we had the players to do it. And then he goes and says something like that, and it all gets.
It's a shame that someone like that tarnishes, and it's good that you're able to.
I don't think anybody knows that, but I found out that because Kevin told me. I said, "Why? Why did you?" Because I said I was doing some. I think he wanted an excerpt for his book or something like that, and I said, "Right, go on then. Tell me why you sold me." And he explained that.
That was it. It's a shame though. There's no need for it. It's people just taking advantage.
It's just greed, isn't it? Just greed, and for to go behind my back to do something like that and spoil something really special that we had at Sheffield United, I think it's bang out of order. But
it's good for you to be able to explain yourself to the Sheffield United fans, because there might be an element of them that are like not quite taking on what's been said. And
I didn't. I had it. We used to talk about it, and not in an arrogant way, but in a really determined and focused way. That we and some of this like sensible one. They do blame the chairman for selling me, finances this or whatever, but everything was fine. Kevin, he was extremely wealthy, and I'm sure that. The money that he was spending was sustainable because of his other businesses, and he was a good chairman, but he just got fed that wrong information. And I said, well, why didn't you come and just ask me? I'd have told you. And he said, well, yeah, maybe I should have done.
No, but again, it's learning, and it's a shame that. But I mean, again, it's something that you're going to have to take into your coaching, where you've got to be aware of different characters that are maybe up to no good and trying to push and pull at your players.
Yeah, of course. Again, you don't know at the time, but like you say, that could be an invaluable lesson at some point in my coaching career or my managerial career or whatever. And you just got to get all the information, and that's one of the things now that I try and do in any situation. Get the information, from each party, and make sure that it's the right information before then making a decision.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, from there you moved on. You played up here in Scotland. You were with Rangers for a very short spelling. You played about 7 games up here, But was it Walter Smith that brought you up here?
Yeah, Walter was brilliant with me. He was. So at the time, I'd been training on my own at Stoke, and I'd been sort of injured, and I needed was, and me and Walter sat down and spoke this through, and he was great because he knew I wasn't really fit to start the season. So we'd come up with this program, this plan that I was going to do a really intense 4-week program, and I was going to absolutely work my socks off, sort of like a condensed pre-season, as it were, because I hadn't had one. I'd been training on my own. And that's what we had. That's what we had planned, and I knew I needed that because I wanted to. Because when you go somewhere like Rangers, you want to be able to hit the ground running and get off to a great start. And so we had all this in place, and the first game of the season came round, and I probably only signed a week before, so I was only a little bit into this program. And Stephen Davis was in the starting 11 against Kilmarnock. I remember it. And Walter called me in the office, and he went, "Oh, Davo's not well." And I just went, "I'll play." And he went, "You'll do for me, son." And I was in the team. And I wish just that, again, another sort of lesson, that sort of impetuous nature. I wanted to do it. I wanted to go out and play in front of the fans, 45,000, first game of the season. And I played a couple of games and I broke down. I ruptured my rec fem in my thigh, in my right leg. And I was out for about another 16 weeks, which again, coupled on the back of, maybe 4 or 5 months not training properly. And then
at Rangers, you must have been about 32, something like that. Must have been
32, yeah.
Aye.
I was, you know, I was still. If I'd, I mean, looking back, I wish I'd have just said, I'd look, you know. But then, what does he think of you if you say no, you don't want to play in front of 45,000 first day of the season?
And we've seen that. There was a transfer that I don't know if you've seen Igamani. Before he left Rangers just recently, he refused to come on as a sub, and they forced to move and everything, and left under horrible circumstances. And it's just unnecessary, but. You see the Rangers as well now. I mean, they've been bought over as well by American investment. And did you watch a game yesterday though?
Just a little bit of it, yeah. When because we had friends round yesterday, and they've got a little daughter, and she was watching Matilda. Yeah, well. And I said, no, the Old Firm derby's on, and she went, and my daughter went, who's 14. She went, no, you can't turn Matilda off because I'm watching it and Blue's watching it. I went, well, the Old Firm's on. Go and watch it somewhere else. So I got little bits of it.
I bet you wish you'd watched Matilda after watching that game because it was the most boring, drab 0-0 draw in an Old Firm game I've ever seen. I think it was tedious, but some game. I mean, the Rangers Celtic game. You did come back though and played in Fernando Rickson's.
Did you?
Yeah,
I did.
You scored in
that. Yeah. And in that game against Kilmarnock, I hit the bar. This cross come over and it hit the underside of the bar, and I'm just thinking, you know, could have been a lot different.
If that had went, but I mean, it's at that stage where I don't think you realised that all the effort that you'd put in up till then, it caught up with you before you kind of were willing to accept it or see it is. And as you can see, you went to Blackpool as well. I've got down here Blackpool debut versus Everton though.
Yeah,
is that right? Who was in charge?
Absolutely lashing it down. Goodison. I think we lost 4-2, but I think they're scoring that. I assisted one in that game.
Debut v Everton. Ian Holloway was also there at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, he was the manager, Ian. Yeah,
he was mad.
Yeah,
brilliant manager.
Yeah, he's good, really good. I enjoyed working with Ian a lot, and he's at Swindon now, and Ian doing really well. So good luck to him.
So who's your best manager you've worked under? Then I mean, we have got Sheffield United. We've touched into Accrington before you retired, but I mean, who was the best manager you worked under? I
always say Gordon Strachan.
Yeah.
He was brilliant, and you know he's a good friend now, and a trusted soundboard, and he's always there to pick up the phone. But when he was managing me, he was just great. I loved his enthusiasm and his wit, you know, and his training methods were a little bit different, but sort of suited me. And he was mad into sort of hip flexibility, but fitness. Oh my God, was we fit? Right. And I'm not joking here. I reckon that I was fit that I used to play 90 minutes and think, right, well, I could do that again. And I used to do, and I used to do 14.5K easy in a game. And I think I think my record's 14.6. And that was sort of like 2,800 meters high intensity.
But you're right. It's gone back to, I mean, if it's the right manager and he's treating you right in that as well, you will run for him all day long as you can anyway. And that's clearly what you've done with.
It's about relationships and trust. And I think that again, with what how humble Gordon was with what he'd achieved in his career, but also the trust in his knowledge, the trust in his ability to motivate a team, and he was a great motivator for me personally and for the whole team. I mean, at Southampton, it was evident that, but some people say that players don't need motivation and that, but what you do need is discipline to just turn up every day and make sure that you're putting your best self out there. And he did that. So it was leadership in a way that
it went for the front.
You just followed it, and it was brilliant. And I feel privileged to having been in that environment, because he showed me so much that I didn't know that I would need in the future.
Yeah, again, learning for experiences all the time. We could just while we're rounding up, right? Would it be all right to ask if you were to name a 4-4-2 with the best players that you've played with? I do that always with everybody. So you two have a goalie that you played with and such like.
Yeah.
Right.
4-4-2. Yeah.
4-4-2. Starting with
coming back, 4-4-2.
It's an old one,
Yeah. The tall strikers are coming back as well. There's a few been bought this summer. There's more than one way to skin a cat there, Barry.
I agree.
I think best keeper, Anthony Amy.
Yep.
Right back, Dodsey.
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
Great captain, great lad.
Brilliant.
Absolute, yeah, brilliant. So loud though, so loud. Everything he can't speak normally. He has to shout. He's brilliant.
Brilliant.
I think because I played in the England team. There's a few England ones in there. I've got to put Sol in there because he was probably my toughest opponent. Klaus.
Yeah.
Bridgie left back. Am I playing?
It's up to you. You could put yourself in the team, or because I put you hate to play.
I need to play.
Aye, I say so.
Cheers, Gaffer.
No, it's not bothering me. It's my fucking podcast.
So centre mid Scholes.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Ridiculous player. Like absolutely unbelievable. Probably best player I've ever played with.
Yeah.
Beckham right wing. Left wing Chris Marsden. Other centre mid Matthew Oakley.
Yep. Brilliant team.
Yeah, and then if I'm playing me and
best striker you've played with. Here we go.
Usually I play Tiz in midfield.
Yeah.
Who've I got in midfield? Oaksy and
Beckham.
Yeah, I've got to go. Me and Tiz up front. But usually I put Marion up front with me. Marion Pars.
Pars as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, but Tiz is usually in midfield. I'd probably I'll have to Oaksy. I'll have to play Tiz centre midfield.
This is a bit where I clip it, right? And then I post this on different wee bits, and this is where your phone goes mad saying, you left me at that fucking team.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I've had a few of these, and to be fair, I do mix it up a little bit. So I might say, so they can't just say, oh well. I say, well, I did it last time. I'm putting it in.
It's different.
Yeah. And I'll have to take Oaksy out, put his centre mid, and then put Marion up front with me.
It's amazing.
But that's the decisions you've got to make as a manager, isn't it? Do you know what I mean, Barry?
Tough. I see. That's it. You need a good agent. That's what you need. But listen, I can't thank you enough. It's been absolutely amazing. Just going through everything. You're at AFC Tottenham, is that right now?
I'm director of football at AFC Tottenham. Really enjoying it. Took the post up last May. We got promoted to the National League South, and we are 4th in the league at the moment. I'm director of football now. Enjoying it. Love working with the boys. Love working with Jimmy. He's been great on the football side. So got me in, because I can understand that relationship can be a bit tricky. So I just said, the football's yours. If you want me to do anything, just let me know. And I'm coaching. I'm on the bench on match days and all sorts. So it's, it's a way to sort of, keep me in. But again, you see what the club means, even though it's step 6. You see what it means to the community. You see what it means to the people involved in the club, and it's special. So, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the level. I think I always try and leave a football club in a better shape than I found it, or it was in when I joined it. Irrespective of what role I'm trying to play, you try and influence in the right way and try and professionalize and make things better. And whether that's bringing the fans and the club back together, like I had a hand in with Gary at Birmingham. which we did unbelievably.
That Gary Monk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed Birmingham because it as a club it was right up my street. Working class, and I knew what they wanted. They just wanted the team to go and play, and they didn't have the right personnel in place. So then when we went in, they did have the right personnel in place, and
they were free. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. The environment is so important, and getting the right person in charge is massively important, and the right people at the club, making sure that they're all pulling in the right direction and not pulling in opposite directions, which pulls things apart.
Well, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on how you get on there. I mean, with your drive, experience, enthusiasm, everything you're able to put across, I can't wish you so much luck with it. I really hope it goes well.
Thanks very much.
If
you want to come down, let me know, and I'll sort your ticket out.
I'll come down. That'll be amazing. We'll sort that off camera. I'll get that sorted. That'd be amazing, to come down there.
Yeah.
But listen, thank you so much, James. I'll end the recording now, and we'll share we chat off camera. But thanks for allowing me the opportunity to chat, and the listeners.
No problem. Absolute pleasure. Cheers.